Are you Omar?
So third time on stage, you get a prize.
I do.
So thanks everyone for joining me. Thanks for folks that are online. So this was a good day to wrap up. We know first couple of days, we were deep in the weeds, got into a lot of good Cody developer-y kind of stuff. And I think today was more about kind of up-leveling it and looking at what you can do with the tools, looking at use cases, getting to real problem solving. Still a technical conference, so we still got to see some code in Windows and things like that, but this was really more about application of the tooling and the technology. And a big piece, and one of the cooler sessions, I think, was certainly the morning session with Colt and some of the really cool stuff they're doing. So my first question for you, because people are looking at you all day, so I don't have to introduce you again. So Colt was like S-tier operator, right? They've been doing this for a while, but for the mere mortals that are watching that, at home, at their data centers, how doable is something like that? Is it like, okay, you need to do, is this like a Yoda practice for 100 years, or is like, okay, these kinds of things you can get rolling pretty quickly?
Well, I'm not going to underestimate it and say that overnight you can turn into a network into an intent-based network. No, but I think with the way technology is moving and the way we're migrating, basically, for example, even for our custom base, where we're seeing, first I need to explain, to start with, the software stack that's sitting on top is not the only thing that's enabling those use cases that you saw today.
Sure.
It's also the hardware that's, changing through, for example, Colt has been replacing some of their big, boxes that are 8RU or more long with pizza boxes, going to the RON technology and so on. And that is where sort of from the hardware side, the power savings came through, the sort of more open APIs as well to actually configure them, compared to using TL1, for example, on back in the day on
thank Lord
on some of those devices, and then the SDN stack. So the SDN stack has been something that they've been building, I believe, since 2018, and Joanne actually had a very good journey that they started with something simple, which was let's bring all the scripts together in one place, and have some validation that's pretty universal for us to do this. Then afterwards, they've built a little bit more automation and microservices to be able to do, for example, off of their IPVPN services, their EVPN services as well, and so on. And once they started getting, I think, that cruising speed is when really you started seeing some of those transformations, this greener path, unprotected, protected use cases that they can do more on demand, based on what the customer does. So I think no is the short answer. The long answer is they've showed that it can be done within 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, that seems like it was a reasonable project in terms of payoff and timeline. So if I hear you correctly, fitting since we're in the home of IKEA, we give them the pieces and parts and the enabling technologies, and also I think enabling expertise. We just had the conversation outside about documentation and code and those kinds of things. So from a customer perspective, it's the pieces we give them, but they making a cake, they still need to mix the batter and bake it and do those kinds of things.
The partnership is really key as well.
Sure.
Some of those pieces have been coded. It's sort of a co-development process because it's a partnership where they tell us their needs, and they also open up their stack for us to see where the integration points are, so that we can develop and offer those pieces, such as as I'm telling you, the PCA path metrics APIs, and so on and so forth. The customer portal, for example, that integrates with Colt on Demand, etc.
Cool. Okay, so you've got someone sitting at home or sitting in the audience. They thought this is really cool stuff. I'm never going to get my bosses to pay for this. So what is a good project to start from an assurance perspective that probably has maybe a quick payoff, not too intensive on the front end, but the kind of thing that sets the stage to be able to demonstrate value and start a conversation with your leadership saying, hey, this is something we should invest in?
You know, if you have that naggy sort of customer that's calling you very, very often and telling you that, there's issues, but you can never really sort of right off the bat RCAs, and even if it's like intermittent issues and stuff like that, and you're kind of looking at faults all day from the devices, this is where I'd say it's a low-hanging fruit for you to kind of call us up, tell us, hey, you want to do a proof of concept or proof of value, we'll work out the commercials with you, and pretty much from there you can show real value and then show how across the network when you have this, how pay off, and we'd help them make the business case, to be quite frank with you.
Cool. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's a great way of doing it, where you have visibility just on at the device level, but you really want to look at the continuous testing of the service itself.
Okay. Okay, last question for me. So yesterday, everyone learned that I have minions running around in Foresight. Today, I learned you have minions running around in PCA. So what do you see as the intersections with my minions and your minions? What do you think short-term use cases around applying AI and assurance, but we kind of, what are the longer term, maybe a little bit science fiction-y kinds of things you think we could do in the future?
So I think one of the basic things where we often talk about AI's strength is when you're extracting data as such. Let's think big data. Sorting it, structuring it, and making it make sense, based on models and so on. I think this is where the strength really is, and that Foresight framework will allow to extract basically those insights from it and potentially drive even actions off of it. And one of the, I think, short discussions we had was around, for example, using the data that you have to be able to predict outcomes before something degrades. That's one of the use cases where I see, I think, I could say 80% of the people to 90% of the people in any case, whether that's, when you're monitoring or when you're planning, etc. Those are pieces that are kind of essential for you to have. And then the other one is around pretty much optimization.
Sure.
So having a really good view of the network and having that data of how it's doing and knowing basically how it's going to be healthy and unhealthy, you can optimize. So that's where I see some of the use cases of AI really taking in all of this data that's being collected and providing insights to the operator, to whoever it is that is consuming that northbound.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think one of the cooler things with PCA, and maybe not everyone's aware, when you deploy PCA, you intrinsically get a big data platform kind of along for the ride. So you don't even need to figure out what you're going to do ahead of time. You have a bunch of data that you can go, kind of build some of these use cases after the fact.
Yeah. So yes, it's a big data platform. It is purpose fit for critical networks.
Mm-hmm.
So we're saving you the effort of having to go and hire your own farm of data scientists to go and fit your models basically to do things like correlate basically based on service health what is good, bad, things like that. So that part is accelerated basically with that piece, which is PCA,
Yep.
and providing that in conjunction with other data sources, which, for example, this AI framework can pull in, will definitely accelerate the other use cases. I mean, I'm thinking closed loop automation, I'm thinking remediation, I'm thinking optimization. There's a lot of basically use cases around that I can think that both with the assurance, configuration templates, and so on, can merge together to be able to accelerate pretty much that magical word we all have, which is the self-healing network. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for some great
Thank you very much.
presentations. You're free to go. You're free to hang out.
Thanks.
Thanks, dude.
Great.
So over the course of 3 days, we explored all my different types of friends. I had friends that were here and knew they were going to be here. I had friends that were here and didn't know they were going to be here. I had friends that didn't want to be here and didn't show up. So we're going to cover the last category as friends that didn't know they're going to be here but are going to show up anyway. So we had an amazing show. I think just the energy in here, out in there. I feel like folks really enjoyed themselves, got a lot out of this. And that is no accident. So you know, I want to recognize 2 folks out of my team. So Nicklas and Connie, if you can come up. It's literally 6 months of almost full-time effort for both of them to get the show pulled together, get all the mechanics handled, you know, talk to all of you, build agendas.
We were not prepared, and we did not have mics, so. But
yeah, welcome to my club. So I just wanted to thank you. You know, I get this is like a passion project for you guys. So what do you want people to get out of this effort? Also not rehearse. If nothing else, after 3 days, you should know we don't rehearse this.
No, I think it's important to realize that, I mean, why we do this is to bring the community together. I mean, you have a lot of knowledge and experience, and by sharing that with others, that in that way we will advance as an industry. I mean, we don't do this for fun.
We kind of do it for fun.
It is fun, but the planning work. I mean, we put a lot of hours.
I have fun.
Into
You
this.
do work.
Yeah. But what I think is really rewarding is to see that there are so many people that want to present, they want to share. The challenge is to fit everything into the agenda, of course, and to please everyone. So there's going to be, you know, highs and lows. For some people want more techie, more hands-on, more discussions and so forth. But I think we managed to cover most of it.
I think you did a fine job. So to that end, one thing I'll point out for the audience, people that are here now, people that were here, people that are listening. So we bring our engineering and development product management team here, and part of it is we want you to mingle so you get your questions answered. But I think one thing I want you to recognize is this is incredibly invigorating for the product team. They love to come to, you know, these things and listen to you and hear you say, hey, I used your thing to go solve a problem or make my life better or that kind of stuff. It really supercharges the team for another year of you know, writing code and building, you know, solving problems. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. You guys make that happen?
Yeah. So one thing that I would like to add is that you don't put just any event team on this to plan it. You have to be sort of in the middle of everything and knowing the people and knowing the products in some sense. And without you know, having a good collaboration between the 2 of us, I think we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yes, and also you had great teams selecting the content, speakers, and everything. So we want to thank everybody for that. Cool.
And in recognition, your product team has picked these nice small shrubs. Good luck getting that through airport security.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And with that, I think we can wrap it. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of the family, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Thank you.